Hey, how's everybody doing? Did you have a good weekend? Did you get to hear the flyover the other day? Pretty cool, huh? Happy Monday, and let's continue on with our book. Today I'm sitting in my nice cozy chair. I hope you are nice and cozy too. If you want, you can draw a picture while you listen to me read. Chapter 11. The doctor takes a hand. Turn this way a little bit here. Here we go. The days went by happily for the boxcar children. They found more treasures in the dump, and Henry worked every day for Dr. Moore. One noon, Henry came home with some new stockings for Benny. Benny was very happy about them, and he made everyone admire them. And when Jessie looked at the new stockings, she had a happy thought. She carefully washed Benny's old stockings and hung them up to dry. That afternoon, she and Violet sat down with a work bag between them to make a bear for Benny. "You must make a tail too, Jessie," begged Benny, watching her put on the arms and legs and head. "Bears don't have tails," said Jessie. "Your old bear didn't have a tail." "But this bear must have a tail," replied Benny, knowing that Jessie would put on 2 tails if she asked him to. "What kind of tail?" asked Jessie at last. "Long and thin," said Benny happily, "so I can pull it." "Benny," cried Jessie, laughing. But she made a long, thin tail, just as Benny had ordered. "What's his name?" Jessie asked Benny, when at last the bear was handed over to him. "I haven't thought about a name," replied Jessie. "Why don't you think up a nice name for him?" "Well, you made him out of an old stocking, so let's name him Stocking." "All right, Stocking it is," agreed Jessie, trying not to laugh. And from that day on, the bear's name was Stocking, as long as he lived, and he lived to be a very old bear indeed. One afternoon, Jessie saw how long Benny's hair was getting, and she cut it with Violet's scissors. Benny stood quietly while she did it. But while his sister was getting supper, he said to himself, "Jessie cut my hair. I'll get Violet's scissors and cut Watch's hair. He'll look better." He found Violet's scissors, and he made Watch lie down on his side, and he began to cut the hair off. Benny said, "Good dog, Watch. You're Jessie's dog, so I will cut a J into your hair. Hold still now." Watch lay still, and Benny cut a J. It wasn't a very good J, but it looked a little like one. Soon Benny had cut off all the hair on one side with a J in the middle. He stood admiring his work, and just then Jessie came to see what he was doing. "Benny," she cried, "what are you doing?" Then she began to laugh. "Oh, Violet, come and see," she called. "Watch, looks so funny." Jessie laughed and laughed until she almost cried, and Violet began laughing, and then she laughed and laughed until she cried. But then she could not stop crying. She cried and cried, and at last Jessie made up her mind that Violet must be sick. "You better go to bed, Violet," she said. She helped her carefully into the boxcar and put pine needles around her and under her, and then she wet a handkerchief in the cold water of the brook and laid it on her little sister's hot head. "I wish Henry would come home," said Jessie. "What shall we do?" When Henry came at last, he looked at Violet and said that maybe she had a cold. "Maybe she sat too long in the brook," he said. "If Violet is very sick, she ought to go to the hospital," said Jessie. "I know," said Henry, and he didn't want to go to the hospital because if we went to get help, we should have to tell our names. "Yes," said Jessie, "then Grandfather would find us." The 2 older children sat up with Violet. They put cold water on her head, but after dark Violet shook all over, and Jessie was frightened. She covered Violet all over with pine needles, but still she shook. They could not get her warm. "I'm going to go get Dr. Moore," said Henry. "I'm afraid Violet is very sick." Then Henry started to run, and he ran even faster than he had run in the race. Down the hill into the town he ran until he came to Dr. Moore's home. "Please come," he cried. "Violet is very sick." The doctor said, "Come and get in my car." He did not ask Henry which way to go, but the car went right up the road, And when they came to the woods, he said to Henry to stay in the car. He ran along up the hill to the boxcar. It seemed like magic that he knew where to go. When Dr. Moore came back, he was carrying Violet in his arms. Jessie and Benny and Watch came too. They all got in the car. "Are you going to take her to the hospital?" asked Henry. "No," said Dr. Moore. "I'm going to take her to my house." When they stopped at last, Dr. Moore carried Violet into the house and said to his mother, "Violet's very sick. We must put her to bed." Mrs. Moore hurried around, opening beds and bringing pillows, and Mary came in from the kitchen with a hot water bottle, and after a while Violet began to get warm. Then Mrs. Moore came in to get the other children. "You must stay here tonight," she said. She gave Henry and Benny a big bed, and Jessie slept in a little one. But Violet was so sick that the doctor did not go to bed all night. He would not leave her. He sat by her until 10 o'clock the next morning. Before 10 o'clock, a man came to see the doctor. Mary told him he could wait. So he sat down in the living room. Soon Benny came in. "Where's the doctor?" asked the man. "He's up in Violet's room," answered Benny. "Well, this means $5,000 to him if he'll come down," said the man. "Oh, he can't come now," said Benny. "What do you mean, boy?" asked the man. "What's he doing?" "He's taking care of my sister Violet," said Benny. "She is sick." "And you mean he wouldn't leave her even if I gave him $5,000? asked the man. "Yes," answered Benny. "That's what I mean." Then the man said, "You see, I have lost a little boy, and I think the doctor knows where he is. My little boy is just about as old as you are." "Well, if you don't find him, maybe you can have me," remarked Benny. "I like you." "You do?" cried the man. "Come up here." Benny climbed into the man's lap. "Have you got a dog?" Benny asked. "No," said the man. "He's dead now, but you can see him in my watch. Here it is." Benny looked at the dog. "He looked like a very good dog," he said. "I have a dog, too. His name is Watch." Just then Watch came in with Dr. Moore. "Good morning," said Dr. Moore. "Benny, you can go play with Watch." Benny ran out, and the man said, "Dr. Moore, where are my grandchildren?" "Well, that little boy is one of them," said Dr. Moore quietly. "That beautiful boy?" said the man. "Yes," said Dr. Moore. "They are all good children, but they are afraid of you. They are afraid you will find them." "How do you know that?" asked the man. "Well, they have changed their name," said the doctor. He looked at the man in a queer way. "The big boy changed his name on the field day. You saw him then." "I saw him? What did he change his name to?" asked the man. "Henry James," said the doctor. "The running boy?" cried the man. "The boy who won the free-for-all. Well, I do like that boy. So I am his grandfather." That was a surprise, huh? So I wonder what's going to happen next. I guess Dr. Moore must have called him. When Violet got sick, he decided he better call him and tell him where his grandchildren are. So you get to predict what's going to happen next. Do you think that the children are going to like their new grandfather? Write about it. Tell me why you think that they will like their grandfather, or are they going to keep hiding because they don't like him? You tell me which one you think is going to happen next in the story. And keep on reading, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.